back to another Junodrome Tarot reading. Today we're going to be doing a pick a card tarot reading where we're asking directly, how can you reach your fullest potential? And it's kind of a challenging question, right? I think that we all have tremendous potential in life, and realizing your fullest potential, as much as that is a great goal and a great direction, I think it's also important not to beat yourself up too much about it either. Like, I don't know if anyone alive has reached their fullest potential. Personally, I tend to believe that life in general is a journey and a learning experience, and that we come into this planet specifically to learn these lessons. But these readings are going to be a guide on how you can kind of make that journey a little easier and get closer to those things that are really driving you specifically, right? So we are definitely going to be asking, how can you further reach your potential? If you've been feeling a little lost, or if you know exactly where you are and this is just your way of confirming it, either way, I'm hoping that these pick a card readings are going to bring you all of the messages that you need. So in a moment, I'm going to show you the piles to choose from. Then you can find them below in the description section of this video, a link to your reading. If you would like a private reading with me, I do have them available on my website. You can find that and more information at junodrome.com. And be sure to follow me on Instagram at junodrometarot, where I plan on posting more daily little mini single card readings, just to give you a little bit about your day and some things to think about. So anyway, without further ado, check down in the description section for your link to your reading, and I will show you the decks. See you soon. Hey there, pile number one. You chose this beautiful card with the roses here. So we're going to dive right into your reading. This is going to be your reading for how can you realize your fullest potential. Let me know what you think about the visual formatting. As you all know, I like to experiment with these videos. So, I'm trying something out new. I'd like to be able to get a surface with the cards, so you can constantly have those to look at, but then I also want to interact with the camera, so I'm trying to figure out the best way. Anyway, let's dive into your reading. So I'm going to read the back of this card at the end here, but first we've got one card from the Fairy Tale Lenormand, and it is the Sun. So wow, so this is your reading for how to realize your fullest potential, and we're starting out really powerful, pile number one. We've got the sun, which is all about this, beautiful magnetic sunshine, connecting into the day, connecting into the brightness, connecting into your own sense of unity with the world around you. So, you know, the biggest thing that you can do in your day to day to like fully connect in with your highest, you know, self and your biggest sense of being is honestly um, to to have that praise of the sun attitude, which is being in gratitude, being thankful, being ready for the day. You also have these roses, which are this big symbol of love, in Western civilization, at least in Western society. They tend to be about love. And so, with the sun and with love symbolism, I'm really getting this feeling of connecting into your heart and connecting into, this sense of gratitude and being. And that by doing that, by developing some kind of practice of that, the sun also, the sun comes up every day. It's regular. So it's like having that regularity of the sun as well, that's in there, like that kind of habitual nature of it. Developing really healthy habits, I think, for you, pile number one, is really going to help you. And it's this healthy habit of self love, right? It's this healthy habit of every day finding some little way to remind yourself of why you're special, right? Because you are, and there is within you not only the capacity to realize that ability, but it's like, and that's exactly what this reading is about how to realize that potential. It's like it's about understanding every day that you have that potential within you, and accepting that it's there, right? Accepting that you have the ability to tackle anything in this life if you so choose to. And so, yeah, so with the sun there, I am feeling this idea of, you know, every day, or, and you know, you don't have to be super dogmatic about this, but developing a habitual love for yourself, in whatever way that is. You know, every day doing a little tiny something for yourself. Every day, you know, looking in the mirror and saying, I love you. You know, pointing to yourself, looking yourself in the eyes and say, hey, I love you. It's going to be okay, self. You know, that kind of thing. Like developing that kind of nature with yourself where it's like every day you're falling into that, right? Because I feel like, you know, you probably, I mean, I'm sure that you know what that feels like, and depending on, you know, where you are in your own personal journey, whether that's something that happens all the time, or it, you know, it only happens every once in a while, developing that regular practice of it, that so like even when you slip and you fall out of it and you're in this negative self-talk and you're in this negative self whatever, you know, whenever that's happening, you know, first of all, having some forgiveness for yourself, because we all get there. We all go to those places, you know, even if you've been, you know, practicing how to be self-loving and, you know, all of that, you know, if you've been spiritually practicing and whatever, and, you know, and you feel like you're really far along, even those people have bad days. Even those people, you know, fall off the wagon, and you know, it's so easy to fall into that negative self-talk, and the difference is not identifying with it so much, right? The difference is understanding, like, oh, this is, you know, this is a thought, right? This I don't have to, this doesn't have to be all of me, you know. Yes, it's coming, it's in my own head, it's something that I'm saying to myself, but that doesn't mean that I have to identify with this thought, right? It's just a thought. So so I can then take that and send it love, connect back into my heart and say, you know what, it's okay, self. Like, it's okay. So anyway, I'm I'm going off on such a huge tangent. Let's look at some more cards. Um, we've got 3 cards from the Smith Waite deck, which is my own favorite version of the Rider Waite Smith deck. Um, we've got the Page of Cups. We've got the Chariot, and we've got the Two of Wands. I'm going to just put these out of the way down here. Did I? Nope. Okay. So, you know, this is interesting. And by the way, I don't really read reversals. It's just part of, I feel like they get in the way. So it's just my personal preference. You know, I feel like you have had a plan for a bit, right? And whether you're still coming up with a plan for yourself or you have some kind of understanding of where you want to go, right? So it's your highest potential, right, is probably not going to come to a shock to you, right? I think that you probably already know exactly what that is, right? So this is a little bit less about, you know, trying to give you an understanding of you, and more like, you know, the road to get there, right? Um, and so I think a huge part of that, though, in conjunction with what I'm kind of channeling here, is like, you already know who you are. And whether or not you get lost in, like I was saying before, that negative self-talk, or, you know, thinking that you can't get something done, or, you know, getting stuck in some kind of slog where you're just like, you know, feel like you're stuck in mud or not moving forward, or, you know, whatever, you know, all of that, like, that's incidental to the fact that at the end of the day, you actually know who you are, and you have a. I think you've probably already been developing pile number one. I get that sense for you guys who are watching this. I get the sense that you've already done a lot of work, and you've already put in the time to understand yourself better and to get a better picture of where you want to go. And I think probably you already have plans here, because the Two of Wands can talk about planning, can talk about coming up with an understanding of things. It can talk about travel too here, because he's carrying the world, but he's staring at the world listlessly, right? So he's like looking at the world and saying, I'm going to travel this globe. I'm going to go to these places. I'm going to do these things. And I'm going to do it. And so, he might not be there yet. He might still be standing on a porch looking out at the sunset, imagining being able to go out there. But he knows he's going to do it. And so I feel like there's something really important about that for you guys, and girls and non-binary people. I don't want to gender anybody. Um, there really is this sense that, like, you already know your trajectory. And so one way to really fully realize that possibility within you is to understand that, well, it's a couple things, right? Like, you know it's like you have to take the steps to get to there, right? And I'll keep going on these cards. I see that that's probably there, but the other thing is you have to believe that you can do it, right? You have to dream it up. First of all, you have to allow yourself to dream of the possibilities with this Two of Wands. And then you have to tell yourself that, yes, I can do it, and okay, let's make it happen. And so I feel like you have been working on that dream, and that's very important. And this Two of Wands is saying, like, come up with that. Come up with that, understand it, feel it, live it in your being. But now you have to bring it into the world. And so, how can you help do that? We have the Page of Cups, which is talking about a new beginning, a new start. And this is a new start towards compassion and following your heart, and love. The cups are all about love. But I feel like for you, it's like, what's going to bring you to bringing that dream into reality is going to be like with this sun. Remember, I was talking about daily habitual something or others. Um, it's going to be every day with this Page of Cups, every single day, connecting into your heart specifically, and not just your mind, because the mind, it's a cage. It can be a cage. It can be this, like, never ending cycle of telling you this and that and this and that and this and that, and you can get lost in that. But your heart has a better understanding of where you want to go than your head does sometimes. And so it's like uniting those two forces together, so that the mind is going to be like, the mind is like you journeying off into the woods, right? And your heart is like the compass telling you the direction to go. And so, you know, with that sun card, I feel like, and the roses here too are talking about love. We're talking about that, like connecting into your heart. The rose can be a symbol of the heart. Uh, it's like what's going to help you realize that potential is taking little steps every day, right? So every day, right, we are bombarded with choices. Our entire life is decisions and choices, and do I do X? Do I do Y? Do I do A? Do I do B? And it doesn't have to be binary like that, one or the other. But even not making a choice, like if you feel stuck and you don't know how to move forward and you say, well, I'm just not going to do anything, well, that's a choice too, right? So it's important to remember that, our lives are a series of choices. And so, you can choose to move forward with this dream, or you can choose not to every day. And so, it takes that discipline um, to commit to it every day in some capacity. And this is where I'm kind of running into this for my own self. And I feel like I tell that to everybody every reading I do, is these readings are for me as much as they're for you. But it's true though. It's like every day you have to find a way to reignite the dream and take a few small steps. You don't have to have it all complete in one go, right? These are probably big dreams and big goals that you have, big ambitions that you are unlocking into your life and moving towards. And so, it's going to take time. You have to develop a patience practice. It's so hard, but it's so true. Um, you have to give yourself the time to ruminate. Sometimes you have to give yourself the time to have a mini period of procrastination. But after a while, though, nothing's going to happen unless you don't take those steps. And so that's where the chariot's coming in, though, is saying that if you do that, right, if you connect in the dream and the plan with your heart and take the steps and actions every day to make that happen, you set off I'm seeing in my head an avalanche, right? You set off an avalanche. Um, what happens with an avalanche? A little bit of snow starts rolling, and then it gets bigger and bigger and bigger, and it becomes this giant snow crashing down the mountain, right? I feel like it in order to build that momentum, you have to take those steps, and they're going to be hard steps at first. But then when you get on that momentum train, it just starts going and going and going, and then it becomes easier to keep it going. But you also have to keep it going, right? Even when you're in the momentum, you have to keep it going. You have to keep feeding that. And you have to keep taking steps, and it's hard. It's hard. It's hard. I fall off the wagon a lot in my life, and you know what? That's okay too, right? It's all a part of the journey and the process in life. It doesn't matter if you fall off the wagon if you get back on it, right? Right? Like if you you go through periods where it's not working out, that's okay too. Because if you're willing to get back up and keep trying and keep putting in that work and keep putting in that effort, if you keep going, you will get somewhere. You will get somewhere. And so that's kind of what I'm feeling for you guys and people. I don't mean anything by it gender wise, just saying. I know some people get triggered from guys. Um, anyway, next up we have 3 cards from the 1JJ Swiss deck. This is a deck from the 70s that I really enjoy. We've got Jupiter, or Jupiter, because this deck is in French, and that is the Hierophant in most decks. We've got the Queen of Cups, Rien de Coupe, de Denier. Sorry, it's Pentacles, not Cups. Queen of Pentacles. And then we have the 8 of Pentacles as well. Okay, so 2 Pentacles cards, that's great. And then we have the Hierophant. Yeah, so with that Hierophant coming in here, I really do feel it's like tried and true. You know what I mean? Like the tried and true methods are favorable for you in this. And what is that? That's every day putting in the effort, every day putting in the work, and maybe some days you can't. That's okay, as long as you keep going. And I feel like that's what the Hierophant is saying is like, he's the Pope. He's like built this based off of tradition. The wisdom of his people has brought him into the the pinnacle of his role. And so it's like talking about that tradition of people and society, and I feel like it's talking a little bit about having a traditional understanding on how to build something. And so how can you realize your potential is by really connecting into um, that work ethic, that have been building that. And you don't need to be like hard on yourself. And I think that's really important to remember. It's like it's less about beating yourself up about not being able to get out of bed in the morning or not being able to make something happen that day. It's much less about that and more about how easy it is for you to forgive yourself for doing those things and keep going. It's how easy for you is it to say, okay, well, that was something that happened. Okay, keep going. Okay, time to go back onto it. Okay, I had a break. Okay, it's time to go back. Okay, it's time to do it. And just like not being afraid um, to connect into that again. And and be really compassionate with yourself about it too. And I think that's the biggest thing is it's like, you know, reminding yourself like, why are you doing this in the first place, right? You're not just doing this to work and that's it, and to just like, no, I need to keep pushing myself and that's that, like it's more about like, well, I would like to build within myself this sense of fulfillment and completion of these things that I feel I need to realize into this world, um, and whether that's a creative project or whether that's a business venture or whether that's whatever that is for you. Take it as it resonates. If you're trying to build a career or whatever, we don't even have to do that. If you're trying to get to the point where you can travel the world without having to think about work or whatever, you, like I was saying before, I feel like you already know kind of the direction. You kind of already know what it is, and so for you, it's less about trying to figure that out and more about like doing what you know you need to do, taking the steps you know you need to take, and 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 forgiving yourself for the timeline that it takes. Right, like it might take a long time, and so that's where it's like that daily practice of self love really comes in, and that daily reminder of having patience and having resilience is so important because it's like this could be a huge undertaking that might take a long, long, long time. And you got to find a way to find peace within yourself to be okay with that and to say, I will continue to put the work in because I know that this is worth it to me. And ask yourself, is this worth it to me? Am I working on something that I really want? And like I said, I feel like you already know what that is for you, but it's still always important to really ask that because, things change, plans change, times change, ideas change, and being open to the world moving in new directions and yourself moving in new directions is important. And so, you might have a goal that you want to get towards and you want to build something, but be open to it transforming into whatever it's going to be. I think that's important too, because you never know, there could be something that's like, it could be much bigger than you understand, or it could be more something that you can't even fathom right now. And so, by giving yourself the space to let it be what it's going to be, you really give yourself um, that understanding. And so, these other two cards that we have here, though, is like, if you continue to put in this work, like with this eight of Pentacles here, it's showing that you have already put in. Sorry, battery died. It's showing that you already put in a lot of work towards this, right? And harvest season is coming. So it's like, I feel like for you, you're at the point where it's like, where you're going. You've put in a lot of work. Maybe you've had some setbacks. Maybe things have been slow. Maybe you feel a little bit at your wits end about trying to make something happen, but you're like, well, but but it's just like it's not quite ready to come yet. So it's like you have to keep on putting in the work. But with that Queen of Pentacles there, though, it's saying that like the fruits of your labor will be fulfilling. Um, you will feel a sense of accomplishment and a sense of 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 completion, like I was saying before, and just like a sense of feeling fully connected, fully realized with yourself and with the world and with the universe. And and remember, right, like happiness comes from within in the moment right now. So it's like you don't have to complete these things in order to feel a sense of unity with the universe. Trust me, like you can feel that this moment. But by continuing to put in this work, it's like you're connecting into that sense of sharing. The Queen of Pentacles, she's all about sharing that wealth. So it's like you build it up and then you have it to give out as well. And so it's like by building this thing, by working towards this thing, you're going to be in a position where you can give back as well. And that giving back may give you an extreme sense of satisfaction that you don't wouldn't necessarily be able to get any other way. And so it's like it's worth it to keep on working. But it might take time, and it might not, what you're looking to make happen might not happen tomorrow. And you got to find a way to be okay with that, if you want to keep going. And this is your life and these are your choices, and I'm not telling you what to do in this reading. I'm just sharing, basically channeling what's coming to me. So take everything with a grain of salt, right? But yeah, that's kind of what I'm feeling. So let's look at the three last tarot cards before we go to the one oracle card. These come from the Wild Unknown Tarot, and we've got the Seven of Swords. We've got the Three of Swords, okay. And we've got the Daughter of Cups, which is the Page of Cups. So the Page of Cups is twice. So I feel like, I feel like a part of realizing your potential, is forgiving your past, right? I think that's going to be really important for you. Pile number one. I feel like, I feel like I feel like it's important to treat today and all days, really, but today as a new beginning, as a new start, and to understand that, what happens right now doesn't have to be dictated by the situations of your past, right? Um, More battery issues. So I feel as though, it's so important to remember that, you may have been through real heartbreak, and you may have interacted with difficult people in the past, and you may have been in situations, that have deeply hurt you, and you might be feeling like those things are getting in the way of you being able to move forward in complete your dreams. And so this spread is coming in to say, like, first of all, remember how we opened this about forgiving yourself, and about, being gentle with your being comfortable with you, and telling yourself, like, it's gonna be okay. So it's important to remember those things, and to say, like, to yourself, like, I know that things have been hard, but you don't have to let those things, and this is much easier said than done, so trust me, I understand this from a personal perspective. You don't have to let those things get in the way of you being able to move forward with your life, right? You don't have to let difficult situations with people in the past make it so that you can't trust anybody ever again, right? Um, Maybe those difficult situations taught you discernment, right? Maybe those situations with people who aren't so great, maybe those situations taught you how to recognize people like that so you can avoid them in the future. And maybe you needed to learn those lessons for where you're going in life. Those are the kinds of things I like to think for myself. Um, and maybe this is an opportunity now for you to let go of people. There might be some people that you need to walk away from. And sometimes that happens in life. Sometimes there are people who aren't so great for us, and sometimes there are people who, are content in being stuck in certain areas when you want to move on, or take it for your situation. Um, but just like, don't let something that has happened to you in the past, like, don't let that be the end all be all for your life. Like, don't allow some crappy thing that somebody said or did, or any of that. Don't make that the reason why you're telling yourself you can't do something. F that. Like, screw that person, screw that thought that's in your head that maybe came from somebody else, or maybe came from yourself. And like, find that place within you that knows that it's BS, that knows that you're strong, that knows that you can tackle any situation, because you can. And I know that you know that somewhere within you. It's all about, like, finding that. Final card comes from the Shamanic Healing Oracle, and it's the Omens. So first off, with this Omens card, it's got a hawk on there, and hawk symbolism is really this card, but hawk symbolism in general, and the idea of the hawk, in spirituality, really personally helped me overcome some very difficult situations that I was in. And the symbol of the hawk is this: when the hawk is on the ground, it can only see a short distance. It can only see the things around it, and it doesn't have a good understanding on what's going on because it's stuck on the ground. It's stuck in this perspective of right here. But when the hawk takes off and flies in the sky, they have the sight to see miles and miles and miles below them. And what may have looked like a bear, a bear on the ground to the hawk when they were on the ground might have been huge and threatening, but once they're way, 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 way up in the sky, it's just a tiny little speck, right? And so that symbolism is telling you to take that perspective on life. And that was a deeply, deeply liberating perspective for me personally, because it made me realize, especially if we're talking about other people, and if you're in situations with other people right now, or you've just gotten out of them and you're still feeling stuck in it, it really helped me with that, because it made me realize, like, these people, if I were to just leave, I mean, I left entire friend groups and communities and all this stuff. But I'm not saying you have to do that, but I did that because I had to. But all of these people who I thought were so important, and all of these, like, places I used to go to that I thought were, like, the most important things in the world, and like, oh my gosh, I can't believe I couldn't even imagine never even setting foot in this place anymore. I used to go to this bar all the time, and, like, it was just, like, so stupid, all these people, and, like, yeah. Anyway, I don't need to get super personal, but, like, I just was like, one day when I was realizing this, I was like, wait, I don't have to go back to that place. I don't have to talk to those people. I don't have to. I mean, I was thinking I had to move. I don't even have to move cities. I can still live here and never see any of that again. And now I'm not saying that that's something that's necessarily one-to-one applicable to your life, and I'm not telling you to leave everybody and, no, I'm not necessarily saying that. But what I am saying is that the hawk is coming in to let you know that, like, if you take a bigger perspective on things, you'll be able to let go of some of those little issues, those little things that might be getting in the way. And then finally, with this being the omens card, omens are all about signs, symbols, and synchronicities. So this card is really asking you, as we said before, if you're taking in this daily practice of really connecting in, like, connecting into yourself, connecting into love, connecting into it, it's about learning how to read the signs and the symbols that the universe is sending you to. So the universe, your guides, however you want to imagine any of that. You don't even have to, but those synchronicities of the universe, they're out there for you to catch. And so, as you start this daily practice, this habitual coming back into yourself, coming back into a sense of calm, understanding who you are, understanding what you want, you'll start to see these signs too that the universe is bringing you along. So you'll know you're making these choices. You'll know you're making the right choices when you start to see things aligning that way. When you start to feel all of these like, wow, oh, that's a synchronicity. Oh, wow, that's, seeing these signs and symbols and all of that. And so, connecting into that, I think, is a big help. So anyway, pile number one, I think I'm going to leave you there. I hope that this helped cover enough for you. Let me know in the comments what you think either way. This final card, we've got the quote from in the back. It will never rain roses. When we want to have more roses, we must plant more roses. Oh my gosh. What a complete connection to this reading. That is absolutely incredible. But that's exactly what we've been saying, right? This T.S. Eliot quote is so true. If you want to make it happen, you got to take the steps to make it happen. You don't have to make it happen tomorrow, right? You cannot grow roses in one night. You cannot plant a seed for a rose bush and expect that bush to be a full-blown rose bush with roses on it tomorrow. You just can't. Nobody can, and that's fine. You don't need to do that. What you need to do is plant the seeds and tend to those seeds every day in a little bit of a ways. I have plants all over my apartment. You just need some water every day, every couple of days. You watch it, you watch each plant, you say, okay, is this plant doing okay? Yeah, okay, what can I do? Okay, okay, great. That's all it takes. It's not huge. And then they grow and they flourish and they're beautiful. So that's what you're being asked to do, or that's what will help you reach where you want to go. It's less about giant, humongous, crazy pushes, and more about little tiny things every day. What can I do today for it? Can I do a little bit today? Okay, I'm going to do a little bit today. Okay, great. I did something today and I got something done. And that's all I could do today, but I did a little bit and that makes me happy because I did a little bit. And I can go to bed knowing I did a little bit. Right? And that's that. And that's that. It doesn't have to be anything bigger than that. But it does have to be regular. It does have to be every day. And so remember, you are in this. It's not a sprint. It's a marathon. And what's the old adage? The tortoise and the hare, right? Remember, the tortoise won. He was going slow, but he was going steady, and that rabbit wore himself out too quick. So keep that in mind, right? You're going for the long haul. So don't beat yourself up when you haven't accomplished these giant lofty goals in a month. It's okay. You've got time. You're building. You're building. So keep building. And like I said, it might take a while, but that's okay because you know where you're going. So keep the faith. Keep it up. I believe in you, pile number one. So yeah, anyway, thanks for tuning in. If you want a detailed personal reading, I do have them available on my website. You can find that at junodrum.com. We can do it together. It'd be fun. I love doing personal readings, so let me know. And check out the Instagram. I got stuff up there. I'm going to be doing regular one-card readings. So check that out. And yeah, I hope you have a wonderful day, pile number one. I will catch you later. Bye. Hi there, pile number two. Welcome to your reading. So let's dive right in. You chose the pile with this great starfish. So this reading is all about what's going to bring you into reaching your potential, fully realizing your potential. That's what it was. So let's find out. Sorry. So we're going to start this off with two cards from the Fairy Tale Lenormand deck. We've got the tree. Okay, so slow and steady growth, but eventually growing into this big, beautiful tree, right? Beautiful. And then we have the coffin, which can talk about death, right? Not to be scary. Death is always a change when it comes to um, intuitive symbolism. So, with the two of these, I'm really feeling this sense of it's like, and there's a tree in this as well, and you've got sunlight coming down. So, for you guys, pile number two, starfish pile, in order to fully realize your potential, it's like I'm getting the sense that it's like your life is woven like a braid, right? This tree is really feeling like that. So at the one end you have the roots that fray out, and then you have the strong cord of the trunk, and then it frays out into the branches at the top. And life can be looked at from that kind of symbol as well. Um, the braid of life, where we're woven into this strong cord, and then we come back out of it at the end. And so it's like, I feel like for you guys, and specifically pile number two, it's almost like, there's going to be many, many, many things on your life journey that bring you in and out of realizing your full potential, right? It's like you know this is almost like a path and purpose reading, like, what is my purpose, what is the path to my purpose. And it's almost like I'm getting the sense of there will be many, many, many purposes in this lifetime for you, pile number two. And I'm just thinking about the starfish symbol. The starfish is, it has a mouth at the center on the bottom that eats, and then it's called a radial body, as opposed to a, I can't remember the name of it. I just watched this scientific video on starfish, but they have a 5-pointed radial body, like the star that comes out from the center, and like that's like 5 different branches, right? So it's like it's all these different. There's going to be a lot of different things for you in this lifetime. I'm feeling there's going to be a lot of different things that work, and with the death here symbolized by this coffin symbol, it's almost like the way that you fully realize your potential is being adaptive, knowing when the chapter has ended, and knowing when to move into the next chapter, right? And being open to understanding that just because one chapter ends, that doesn't mean that you've failed that chapter or that moment, right? It doesn't mean that that moment failed. It's just that it's come to a close, and that there's something new and something different. And the more that you become um, adept at closing out the things that have finished and starting the things that have opened again, the more that you are going to feel more comfortable in life, the more you're going to be more on. I mean, you're always on the journey, right? You're always on the path in life. But the more that you can have that sense of agility and say, "Oh, okay, this is ended," and I can try to push things back. I can try to make this happen again. I can try to make things that, but ultimately, like, that period, that thing, that's whatever, has come to a close, and it is no longer beneficial for me to keep forcing myself into these situations, or following the same mode of thinking, following the same whatever. And it's like, when you feel the call to completely transform, roll with that, because there will be more for you in these newer things that are showing up. So let's look at some tarot cards here. Channeling heavily on this, and it's really great. So this is from the Smith-Waite deck, which is one of my favorite of the Rider-Waite-Smith decks. Oh yeah, oh yeah, oh yeah, 8 of Cups. This is exactly what we're talking about here. Walking away, not being afraid to walk away when these cups are no longer fitting. We've got the Moon. Yeah, so and not being afraid to walk away when you don't know where you're going, right? You don't necessarily have all of the answers, and that's going to be really big in helping you realize your potential is realizing that you don't have to have everything written in front of you before you make your moves, right? And it's not to say that, you don't have to plan anything, but like you won't fully understand everything that's coming, but you have to keep moving anyway. When you know it's time to walk away, you have to walk away, and you have to go towards whatever is coming, even if you don't fully know what that is. We've got the Temperance card. So you have the ability, pile number two, to make lemons out of lemonade. I always relate this card to that adage. It's like these two seemingly opposite forces you are able to mix into, this amazing new elixir that, is neither the one of the original ingredients. It's this brand new thing that is massive. And so, one thing that can help you fully realize your potential is to know that, in these tricky situations, when you're being asked to leave, when you're being asked to move on, when you don't fully know what's happening, you don't fully know everything that's going on, and maybe some like challenging and difficult things are popping up in your life because of that, and maybe some really not so great situations are coming up, and it seems tricky, and you might be wrangling your brain, wondering like, well, what's going on, and how can I what can I do about it. The answer is that these challenges are being thrown at you for you to do this alchemy work and transform those situations into something, you know, something brand new, something huge, something massive, something different. And so, that's going to help you on your journey to try to realize your potential, is to know that, like, you know, when these challenging moves and changes and differences of situations pop up, it's all about you tuning into, okay, well, what can I do with this? Okay, I see that things need to change. Okay, I see that things need to move on. Well, how can I do that in a way that's going to make things great for me? And even if I don't know fully what's going to happen, how can I continue to move along and move through these forces in such a way where I'm able to create something out of that. Um, you know, the final one of these is the Four of Pentacles. So I feel like it might be tempting sometimes to try to stay with what's safe, but sometimes doing that will make you feel stuck. And so I feel like for you, like I said, if something's truly at an end, and things are time, you find that it's time to move on from a situation, staying in what you know just because it's safe is actually going to just keep you stuck. And in fact, that's not going to be what helps you along. What will really help you in the end is that alchemy of saying, okay, things are crazy, things are changing, everything's moving around me, I don't know what's happening. I'm going to try to make the best of this. What do I know about myself? How do I know myself to operate? What do I know are the conditions that would help me thrive? What do I know are the conditions that will get in my way? And how can I act in such a way where I am creating the most optimal conditions for myself moving forward? So I've got a couple cards now from the one JJ Swiss deck. It's from the 70s. We got the Fool. Yeah, so with every ending, with that death comes a new beginning with the Fool. So it's like, I feel for you, it's like you're in this, you have this ability to have a continuous rebirth. It's like when you're in your most optimal, when you are in your most like within your full potential, fully realizing it, it's when you are able to transform, and it's when you're able to continue to have the look of the child within you, right? To have the 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 um, the optimism of somebody just starting out. It's like you can burn away all of the things that aren't working until you come back into this optimistic newness, and like you'll be fully realizing your potential when you fully learn. And I feel like it takes practice and time, but I feel like you're well on your way towards learning that like you have the power within you to begin again, and that you don't have to take the past with you when you do that, that you have the ability to completely start over as if it's the beginning, you know. And I mean, obviously you can, it's important to take the lessons that you've learned from the past with you, but you don't have to take the baggage with you. um, we've got the hanged man. Yeah, so it's like that's exactly what I'm saying, you know. It's like instead of keeping that stuckness, which like I said before, you know, that stuckness is coming in. I was mentioning it with the four of pentacles. It's like if you continue to play it safe sometimes because it's familiar, just because it's familiar doesn't mean it's good for you. It's just familiar, right? And so, like, continuing to do that is going to make you feel like you're stuck. And so, when you're feeling really, really stuck, you know, that might be a cue for you to start to look and see, oh, well, if I'm feeling so stuck and lost, like maybe this chapter, like I was saying at the beginning, maybe that chapter has ended. And maybe it's time to start looking at things in a new way. Okay, so how can I change my perspective? What is needed for this rejuvenation, this rebirth to happen? What is needed for me to have a brand new perception? And if I find myself, you know, with this hanged man energy, having this thought loop of being stuck in the same thoughts that always kept me stuck, well, okay, well, clearly that's not helping. So, you know, can I look at the situation from a new way? And start to ask yourself those questions. And it might take slowing down in order to even see that. And don't be afraid to do that, you know? Don't be afraid to take your time for changing. You know, these are big, 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 giant changes and transformations that I think you have the ability to go through. And so it's like when those things happen, it's like take your time with it, be slow with it, you know, do things methodically. We have the lovers. Yeah, so the more that you do this, I feel like the more you're going to be in tune with your own heart and your own sense of love, self love, connection to the infinite um, loving kindness of the universe that exists, that's capable, all human beings are capable of accessing, all sentient beings are capable of accessing. It's like the loving awareness that I think is baseline reality personally. That's how I view it. It's like be beneath all of it, beneath everything is this deep interconnected love. And I feel like the more that you're able to, you know, to be able to move, the more that you're able to let go of things that have happened, the more that you're able to move through these things, the more that you're able to connect into that sense of loving awareness, the universal love of the universe. And then the more that you do that, the more that you're going to be interconnected with a sense of understanding of yourself, of the world, of what's going on. The final of these cards is the Nine of Pentacles. Yeah, and so that's it. Like once you do that, it's like you're in your own. This is always like it's a woman who's in her own private garden who's like basking in the finer things of life, and so it's like you have that ability to tap into, you know, your own independent sense of self fulfillment and self accomplishment through transformation, through new beginnings, through completions. And so it's like, you know, understand that every period of your life is going to change. That change is the only constant that exists in this world. And so, you know, be open to the transformations that are presenting themselves to you. And the more that you're open to those transformations, the more that you're open to changing things when it's ready to change, to moving when it's ready to move, the more that you do that, the more that you will feel that sense of accomplishment or just self ease, self love, yeah, but self confidence. So now we've got 3 cards from the Wild Unknown Tarot. We've got the Two of Pentacles. Yeah, so as you move through this, right, it's like I was saying, go slow and steady with this. Don't feel like you have to throw everything away. Like I'm saying, that these periods of your life and these changes are there, but I feel like as much as that's true, I feel like it's also important to remember that like um, you know, those kinds of transformations can take time. Um, you have as much time as you need. And with that balance card too, it's like make sure that you're balancing your physical reality, out as much as you do these inner transformations. Make sure that you're getting enough sleep. Make sure that you're drinking enough water. Make sure that you're taking care of yourself, mind, body, and soul. And the more that you do that, the more you'll be able to be dynamic on your feet because you'll have those parts of yourself covered. Um, we got the Ace of Cups. Yeah, so new beginnings energy for sure. And it's like following your heart. So as these new beginnings happen for you, as you enter into new periods of your life, as things begin again, make sure that you are connected into your own heart as your guiding light, being connected to what is it that you need for yourself, being open to that, asking yourself openly, okay, well, what are my needs? How can I personally meet my own needs with no judgment, with eyes of love and compassion? How can I work with myself to make things happen? And that's a beautiful thing to do that, and working with yourself in that way. Final card we have that's a tarot card is the Empress. Yeah, so and then it's like being in that open receptivity, she's like the divine feminine energy. And so it's like being open to receiving, being open to things coming in, being open to the ability to have things come to you, to grow things, not having to force anything. So it's like don't try to force any of these changes. I think that they're naturally going to come. It's like it, it, you'll be, reaching your full potential when you're able to recognize these changes and transformations within and without you, and to move with them. And that's always, it's not easy to do that, but the more that you have practice and the more that you have a sense of self, um, you know connection with it, of self-love with it, and openness with it, the easier it's going to be. So the final card that I have for you guys comes from the Shamanic Healing Oracle, and it is Discernment. Yeah, and look at that. See that tree? Oh my gosh, that's amazing. So see that log with it's the same symbol that I was imagining when I looked at this tree. You see that? Same thing. That rope, that braided rope, that's amazing that came up twice. Um, so yeah, I feel like for that it is that sense of woven connection, right? That you have all of these different tendrils that come together to create the beautiful you, and that come apart again and come back together again. And that you have those multiple times within a lifetime of breaking apart and coming back together, and just being okay with that, being open to that, and being kind to yourself about it, not being hard on yourself when those things happen, because I think it's a natural part of your existence. It might be from everybody, honestly, but specifically for you guys. So keep that in mind. And then with that discernment, use discernment in your life as well. Just be open to understanding things. Be open to the changes that come in. Be open to the reality around you, and be open to your own inner awareness as well. So the final thing that I'll leave you with is the quote on the back of the starfish card, and it is, I long for salt air in my hair. So, there's that beach imagery as well, right? So, not being afraid to go to the beach, right? I long for the salt air in my hair, that wisping, breeze of a new reality, breeze of something new coming in. Yeah, so anyway, that was my reading for you. Let me know in the comments what you think about it, pile number 2. I love hearing from everybody. Thank you so much for tuning in. If you do want a private reading with me, I have them available on the website. That's junodrome.com. And be sure to join the Instagram if you have Instagram at Juno Drum Tarot. Anyway, catch you later. See ya. Hey there, pile number 3. Welcome to your reading. So, I'm really excited to bring this reading to you. You chose the pile with the feather here. There's a message on the back for you that we'll get to at the end. This is going to be a reading for how can you reach your full potential. And, a quick note on that. I think that it's important to remember that like we all have access to ourselves, right? And, whether or not at any given moment you feel like you're, in your own highest being or whatever, you're still valid, right? You're still valid right here, right now in this moment. So this isn't, this isn't a reading to be an excuse to be hard on yourself, because I know that's something that I can fall into a lot personally, getting really hard on myself and down on myself. So I don't want this to be about that. I want this to be about like, what are some positive impacts that you can pursue in your life in order to really like tune into the full power of you and utilize that in your daily life. And with this being the feather pile, I tend to relate feathers when I find them in nature, on my path as I'm walking down the street or walking along. Whenever I find a feather, to me that is like that's like a little message that from the universe, or from my guides and spirits, or from angels, if you want to believe in angels, or whatever. It's up to you how you choose to conceptualize the greater nature of reality. But I tend to when I find a feather, I use that as like a little bit of encouragement. I see a feather on my path as a little bit of encouragement from the universe. So all of you who chose this feather pile, this reading can act as a little bit of encouragement from the universe for you in this moment. First card comes from the Fairy Tale Lenormand, and you got the ring. All right, look at that. And it's got some magic genie from the lamp aspects to it too. This is all different fairy tales in these cards. And so with that genie, what is it? It's like wish upon a magic ring or something like that, right? So it's like one thing that can help you is keeping your wishes alive, right? And of course, it takes more than just wishing. We also have to act. But an important step in order to even come to the ability to conceive of what's best for us, what can work for us in life, and that kind of thing. One of the biggest things that can help in that is having a mindset where you believe that it's possible, right? If you don't believe you can achieve something, you'll never be able to do it because you won't even bother starting. But if you believe that you're capable of something, even if it's going to take a long time, even if it's something that you have to constantly and continuously be putting energy into, even if it's something where it's like it feels like a slog and you don't know if you can do it, keeping the faith that it's possible for you will help you in the long run, bring you to where you want to go. And so one major thing that can help you reach your full potential is understanding that you are capable of achieving miracles as long as you are willing to keep getting up, right? It's okay to fall. It's okay to get knocked down. It's okay to get knocked off of your trajectory, as long as you can learn how to see it and can learn how to get back up again and forgive yourself and forgive the nature of reality. Because honestly, it's when we get knocked off and when we get knocked down that we learn the greatest lessons. And if we learn how to get back up and brush ourselves off and keep moving, not only do we keep moving towards where we want to go, but we have gained insight and wisdom from that fall. And so, I think that's a really important thing for you all, pile number 3, moving forward, is understanding that even if you fall, even if you get knocked down, even if you get to this point where you don't know how to move forward, as long as you keep trying, you will continue and you will get to where you want to go. But you'll never get to where you want to go if you give up. And I think that's the biggest thing for you to know here. Next up, we have 3 cards from the Smith-Waite deck, which is one of my favorite Rider-Waite-Smith decks. We've got the Hanged Man. Yeah, so, I do feel like you might be feeling a little bit stuck right now in getting to where you want to go. We've got the Death card. Yeah, okay. All of these readings are very similar. I think we're all going through something very similar because I know for a fact that I've been going through some really kind of tricky points in my life. And from a lot of the readings I've been getting, and a lot of some of my favorite readers on YouTube have been putting out just collective readings where there is no pile, it's just a collective reading. And from a lot of those, I feel like we're in this particular moment where, things are a tiny bit on the edge, a little bit tricky. But I feel like that's coming up as a way um, to move through things in order to move forward. And if you're getting this, long after I've posted it, this is still an important message for you. So stay tuned with that. But for those of you who are catching this right when I'm posting it, I think that collectively we're going through a moment like this. And then your final card, yeah, is the Eight of Pentacles. So it's so funny that, like, I, I was channeling this message, and now I have all these cards that are just exactly what I've been saying. It's really great when that happens. But here we go. With the Hanged Man here, like I was saying, you may feel stuck, but that stuck energy that you're in, it's a period for reflection, right? It's a period when you feel fully stuck. Instead of just trying to force your way out of it, take a moment to step back and look, right? Take a moment to pause. If you're trying to achieve a lot of different things all at once, if you're trying to push yourself, forward all at once, if you're trying to push yourself into, feeling like, I don't know, feeling whatever all at one moment, and, and things aren't working and you still feel stuck, that's a good indication that it might be time to take a step back. So if you do that, you'll start to realize that actually you're in a death moment, and death in the tarot isn't scary. It's less about dying and more about transforming. It's we experience in life many, 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 many deaths and rebirths. We are constantly changing from one person into somebody else, and so you might be at that moment where you know where you're going, you have an idea of where you want to be, you know kind of where you want to get to, but you're in a pause right now because there are things that from your past that you're ready to let go of. And so maybe these things are bubbling up into your life at the moment. They're bubbling up into where you are because now is the time for you to feel and experience those things so you can get them out, so that once you move into where you're going, you're not carrying that stuff with you anymore, right? You're letting the past die so that you can move forward. So this pause moment is it's a pause so that you can continue along. And then, like I've been saying about that continuous work and getting back up, right? You have the Eight of Pentacles, which is all about putting in hard work. And so I think that you have been putting in a tremendous amount of work in an area, and you need to commend yourself for that, right? You can't continue, even if things aren't working out in the short moment, right? In the short term, right? Don't forget the long-term memory of how far that you've come, and don't forget the long-term memory of just how much you've already transformed in your life. And yeah, with the Eight of Pentacles, it does indicate that there's more work left, right? You're not done. But are we ever done on this life journey? It's like we're always moving, we're always changing, we're always working, and that's okay. So if you need a rest, right? If you feel stuck and you feel like everything about you is telling you to slow down and take a break, maybe this is a break. Maybe this is a break moment, and allow yourself to have that break, because that will allow you to fully recoup your energy so that when you finally are able to move forward again, you're doing it from a place of rejuvenation instead of from a place of depletion, because you've just been, stuck haranguing yourself for not moving forward, right? So really take this as an opportunity for you to get rid of the things within that are ready to move on, to totally transform certain aspects of your being, and to rest. Get enough sleep. Make sure that you're getting enough sleep. When you get less than 7 hours, if you're only getting like 5-6 hours or even less than that a night, your whole life is going to feel like chaos. Things are going to feel terrible. Your mood is going to be like shot, and you might not understand why, a lot of it has to do with sleep. The more sleep that you're able to get, then those hours that you have in the day will be even more productive. You'll feel better. You'll feel more aligned with your own being. So make sure that you're doing that. That you're not burning out, right? That you're taking things slow. If you need to move slower on these projects or these situations or the businesses that you're making or whatever it is that you're working on, if you need to move a little bit slower, it's always better, slow and steady wins the race, right? It's always better to take your time and do the small things that you can every day as opposed to trying to do big giant spurts of things. Because the more that you try to force these big giant things to happen, the less likely you're going to be able to get back up and keep doing it. And then you're going to be resenting everything, and and this is all me talking from personal experience, because these are the patterns that I tend to fall into, that I'm really trying hard to get out of, because it's much better to be able to slowly achieve the big things that you want. And you might have these great big giant ideas, and I know it's so hard when you have these like fully, like, I know for me though, at least the way that my mind works, I have these like big giant elaborate ideas on what I want to have happen, and it's so hard to just like fully acknowledge and realize, you know what, it's not humanly possible for me to achieve all of that in the short time frame that I'm trying to make this happen. And you know what? That's okay. That's okay. If you are moving very slowly and a little bit at a time, that is okay. And it's so important for you, for all of us, and for me specifically, at least, I'm telling this to myself as much as I'm telling it to you, but it's so important for us to give ourselves the time and the space in order for that to happen. Because when we do that, then the work that we do get done is going to be so much more, A, it's going to be so much more fulfilling to us, and B, we're going to feel more of a sense of accomplishment as we continue to build these things. And then, like, if you are working so hard and in order to achieve something, you're going to have that pressure once you get to the point that you're trying to get to. If you've been like pushing without building in rest, without building in these periods of calm, if you don't build that into your life and into your schedule and into what's going on, then you're going to have, like, you're going to get burned out, first of all. But once you reach the point that you're trying to go to without having any of that time built in, you're going to feel pressure to keep that up, and you're going to hurt yourself. And hurting yourself isn't going to be good for anybody in the long run, and especially for you. You want to be able to make this all last as you're building it. You want to build something lasting and not something that's a quick burnout, right? Yeah, so let's keep looking at the cards here. We got a whole slew of them from the 1JJ Swiss deck, which is from the 1970s, one of my favorite decks. Let's take a look. We've got the Five of Wands. Yeah, so okay, I'm gonna just look at all of these and then we'll get a period. The Ten of Wands. Oh, I feel that so much for what we've been talking about. The Ten of Cups. That's great. 2 tens. We got 5, 10, 10. The Justice card. Yep, that balance. And we've got the Knight of Cups. Yeah, I feel that. These two definitely go together. So, like I was saying, there's that energy of burnout here, right? That's so important to recognize. Like, ask yourself, am I trying to do too much? With this Ten of Wands, that's taking on too many things, taking on too many projects, and being totally crushed at the weight of it. And so, it might be time to let certain things go, and that might be hard to understand, or I mean, to even just like tell yourself, but maybe you can hold off on certain projects or certain things or certain responsibilities, and let those go for the future, and just like tune into the few things that are really pertinent for this moment. And it doesn't mean you have to let those things go forever. It's just like, okay, I recognize in this moment I'm doing a little bit too much. So in this moment, what are some things that I can push off for later? And what are some things that are more pertinent and important to complete right now, right? And the more that you do that kind of thing, the more, calm and comfortable you're going to get towards being, able to even achieve the things you want to get done. With this Five of of Wands, that's the energy of struggle and being stuck. It connects very well to this Hanged Man card. So, like I was saying before, I do feel like maybe you feel stuck. And a part of that, constant battle, constant fight is like I said at the beginning when we were talking about the death card, it might be time for you to take a step back and really tune into, okay, where am I right now? Okay, why are things not moving forward? Okay, what is actually happening to me in my life in this moment that is keeping me from being able to move forward? And why is that? Ask yourself those questions. Slow down, take some breaks, take a nice spa day for yourself, take some nice relaxation, and let the answers flow into you. Let yourself receive those answers. And I feel like you're going to feel much, much happier. So it's transforming that ultimate burden energy into this ultimate happiness, right? With the 10 of Cups, which is ultimate fulfillment and happiness, an internal sense of love and compassion. So it's like you have the ability to bring this into your life right now, right? Happiness is not something that like if you continuously put happiness into the future, like I'm going to be happy when X, Y, and Z, you're not going to get there, because happiness is a state of being right here, right now. And it's important to remember, though, if you're feeling, difficulty, if you're feeling bad, if you're feeling like things aren't great, stay with those feelings, right? Don't try to bury those feelings just to bring happiness in, because we are complex human beings. And so, sometimes difficult emotions will bubble up to the surface so that we can experience them and let them go. You can't let go of your feelings if you're not feeling them. If you are constantly burying your feelings or telling yourself, no, I just need to be happy, I can't be sad right now, I can't be angry right now, I can't feel this right now, I need to just be happy. The more that you do that, the more you're actually forcing those feelings into you, and the more you're going to be stuck in feeling bad. So it's like, if you're feeling gross, if you're feeling awful, you need to give yourself a little bit of time and space in order to feel those, but you need to get to the root of those. And take all this with a grain of salt. I want you to know I am not a therapist. These are for entertainment purposes and for your own personal well-being and connection, but I don't know. I'm not trained as a psychologist, but I do recommend finding a psychologist. So if you feel like you need a psychologist, please go out and find one. I have talked to psychologists many times in my life, and therapy is incredibly helpful and incredibly fulfilling, and very, very, very great for understanding where you are and moving through things. So that's just an aside. But, as you're feeling your feelings, as you're allowing yourself to feel them, don't wallow in it, but be there with it, right? Don't let it take you over. And you don't want to act out of anger, you don't want to act out of fear, you don't want to make decisions out of those feelings, but you do need to feel them to let them go. So if you feel yourself going into these challenging emotions, and we'll say challenging because calling them negative and bad, they're just there, right? We all have them, we're all human. If you go through these challenging emotions, give yourself the time and the space to feel those. It's so important. But maybe that means finding some alone time, going off on your own somewhere, going out into nature is great, taking a walk, going for a run or something, whatever it is for you, going out and exercising, whatever. It's your whatever you like, whatever makes you feel comfortable, any of those things. Taking the time to go out and do that, and then feel those things and feel them very viscerally, but don't act from them, but be present while you're feeling them. Watch yourself feeling those things. Be there in understanding those as they come up. Then you're releasing them because you're allowing those feelings to come through you, and then you'll have the ability to enter into these happy periods. You'll be able to be happy and have a more sustained happiness, because anytime a difficult emotion comes, you're not telling yourself, no, I can't feel this. You're saying, okay, here it is. Okay, this is it. Let's be here. Let's be here and experience it and work through it and let it go. And then, the sun will come out tomorrow, right? Right? I think that's important to remember. So, you got that. And then you're going to feel a better sense of balance by doing that. by allowing yourself to move through this stuff and move through these difficulties and move through the stuckness, move through the challenges, by being totally here for yourself with it, being completely present with it and saying, okay, this is where I am. I accept that this is where I am, and I will move through whatever needs to be moved through. I am ready for it, and I am here for myself. What can I do? You're going to start to feel more and more balanced, and you'll get to be more in this place of balance. And you'll find that those challenging things don't come up as much because you'll allow yourself to work through them. You'll allow yourself to work through it and be comfortable. But then, they will come up again. It is important to remember, even if they don't come up as much, whenever it happens, be there with it. And, I've been kind of experiencing that myself in the last week, specifically the last week and a half, 2 weeks have been really challenging for me. But I've been trying my hardest to be there for myself. And honestly, today has been a really great day. I'm working through it. And I would rather do that than force it away and be stuck. So anyway, that's just how I feel about it. These readings are purely suggestions. I don't. There's nothing. I can't tell you how to live your life, and I can't tell you how to be. I can only tell you what's helped me, and try to channel these messages from these cards. So I just want to put that as a grain of salt. You don't have to listen to me at all, but I'm here to speak if you would like to. So then the final of this round of tarot cards is the Knight of Cups, which is all, I tend to interpret the Knights as the movement, the action. So what movement is happening in this reading? Where is the movement happening? And for you, it's in the Cups, which is all about your emotions and the emotional sphere. And so it's like, and tuning into the powers of love and the powers of comfort and, being there with yourself in order to unlock that beautiful sense of self and of accomplishment and of inner compassion. So you have that movement here. So as you work through these things and allow the parts of yourself that are bubbling up, that are ready to be let go of, to be released, you're opening yourself up to these really beautiful, loving periods that want to come in. So the final tarot cards, we have 4 from the Wild Unknown deck. We've got the Star. Yeah. We got the Devil card here. We've got 7 of Pentacles, very similar to the 8 of Pentacles energy. And we've got the Son of Swords. So these final tarot cards that are coming up here, the ultimate place that you're going is this Star energy, which is, it's this like fulfillment, sense of fulfillment and wonder. And it's like the rekindling of wonder after a difficult situation. So, you may feel like you're in the Devil energy right now, which it talks about, it can talk about feeling bound, feeling stuck to different things like addictions, but not just that, but just, stuck to the stuff. But it can also indicate the liberation from that stuff. So everything that we've been talking about, of how, these things coming back, bubbling up, to be let go of, to be moved through, to be released, so that you can move forward from a position where you're not bogged down by that stuff anymore. And, with the 7 of Pentacles, it's just further reaffirming that, you've put in a lot of work in certain areas, but there's more work to do. And that's okay, right? That's okay. And be present with yourself where you are now. Because it really is as much about the journey to get there as it is about being there, right? Wherever there is for you. So just keep all that in mind. And the final tarot card is the Son of Swords, which is the Knight of Swords in most decks. So you have the Knight of Cups, and then you also have the Knight of Swords, which talks about movement in the mind, in new thinking. Thinking of things differently. Don't be afraid to let your thought processes transform. Don't be afraid to change your perspective. Don't be afraid to allow life to bring you to a new understanding. Don't be afraid to transform the way that you see your own life, even in this moment. Maybe there are some things that you're really down on yourself about that you don't need to be. Maybe there are some things in your life at the moment that you can be a lot more kinder to yourself about, open to yourself about. So that's just something to keep in mind. So now we have one card from the Shamanic Healing Oracle, and you have feminine energy. Yeah, so I did talk at one point in this reading about that receptivity, being open to receive um, these new inspirations, these new ideas, slowing down enough so that you can have those things and perspectives come into your being, come into your mind, come into your life. The more you're just trying to push, 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 go, 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 you might not be allowing in the right things for you in that moment. You might be trying to push yourself a little too hard in certain directions, and not being able to successfully come into a sense of balance. And so this is just reaffirming the idea that it's important to allow things to come to you. Like I opened this reading with the feather, talking about how when I walk around, I see a feather as a confirmation from the universe that, like, hey, it's going to be okay. And so it's like I allow that symbol to come into my life. I can't go around hunting for feathers. They just pop up when they pop up. And that's what the feminine energy is all about. It's being open to letting the things pop in that need to pop in, and also letting the things pop out that need to pop out. And sometimes that's difficult states of mind, and sometimes that's difficult states of being that come up so that they can be released, that pop into your mind, pop into your life at the moment, pop into your being, so that you can say, hey, see this thing needs to be seen. There's a wound that needs to be healed. There's a difficulty that needs to be processed. There's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with you for having those things. All human beings do. I don't think we can move through reality the way that we exist without coming into contact with those things. I don't think that's possible as a human being. So it's all about understanding that, forgiving yourself for that, being kind to yourself, understanding that, regardless of whether or not that's happening, you have the ability to control where you are in this moment. You have the ability to be with yourself in all moments, and meet yourself with that compassion. So anyway, that's my reading for you. We're going to end it by reading the quote on the back of this, and it says, "My soul is awakened, my spirit is soaring, and carried aloft on the wings of the breeze," by Anne Bronte, which is a beautiful quote. So yeah, I feel like that really does in tune. It's like being present in that moment, where you're feeling all of your senses. You're feeling the breeze, you're feeling all of that, and sometimes that means feeling those challenging emotions so that you can let them go and not try to disassociate from yourself, disassociate from it, being present with it so that you can move through it and be in this place of ultimate yes, right? So anyway, pile number 3, that's my reading for you. I hope that it resonates. Let me know in the comments what you think of it either way. If you would like a private reading with me, they are available on the website. You can find that at junodrome.com. And you can check out the Instagram at Junodrome Tarot, where I post some little cards of the days and little mini fun things. So check that out. Anyway, thank you so much for tuning in, and I will catch you later. See ya. Hi, pal number 4. Welcome to your reading. Thanks for joining me today. This is going to be a reading on how can you connect to the parts of yourself. How can you fully realize your ultimate self, right? How can you fully realize yourself, right? A quick note on that, though. It's important to remember that we each one of us go in and out of feeling connected, interconnected, feeling ready and able to be everything that we can. And sometimes we don't feel that way. And that's a part of life. There's nothing wrong with that. That's a part of being human. So, this reading isn't meant to be a way for you to continue to be tough on yourself about certain things. It's just a way to connect to yourself, to connect to your own way of understanding, and to learn how to move forward in a way that's kind to yourself, right? So you chose the pile with these boots with the flowers, and I'll read the quote on the back of that when we finish up here. But it's definitely some journeying imagery, growing going from some nice rain boots. So, with the rain boots, right? It's like rainy days happen in life, but look at what they support, right? Sometimes we need that rain in order to nourish the flowers that are growing within us. So that's important to remember. Um, we're going to start out with one card from the Fairy Tale Lenormand, and you have the Child. So I think for you, one way that you can help fully realize yourself, you can fully realize your dreams and your goals and all that you want to be, is by connecting into your inner self, your inner child, rather. That it's important to remember that each and every one of us has an inner child. It's the part of yourself that was when you were a kid, and sometimes we forget and we lose sight of that childlike wonder of the world and of the universe and of all the things around us. And this reading, I think, is bringing in that idea of really connecting into that sense of wonder, that sense of childhood imagination, and allowing that to be something that guides you forward as you move through life, allowing yourself to really deeply connect to um, those childhood parts of yourself, those things you imagined as a kid, what you dreamed of doing in life, is a part of who you are. And those dreams are still available to you no matter what your age is. And so it's like, you know, a part of a part of your ultimate fulfilled self is a person that you knew when you were a child. And so you're being asked and called to reconnect to some of those things. Um, we have 3 cards right now from the Smith Waite deck. So this is my favorite version of the Rider Waite Smith deck. And we've got the Devil, okay? That came out for the last group as well. We have the Five of Pentacles, okay? And then we have the Three of Wands. Okay, so you may actually be experiencing pile number 4 some difficult situations right now, and that's okay. I want you to know that, like I was saying at the beginning, sometimes we're in the rainy season of life. I live here in the Pacific Northwest in Seattle, Washington, and we're getting closer and closer to our rainy season. For many months of the year, it's dark and it's gloomy and it's tough. And sometimes in life we are in those periods where we're in the dark and we're in the gloominess. But one of the things that leads to in the Pacific Northwest is absolutely beautiful green environments, right? It's this beautiful, beautiful environment of green everywhere. There's a rainforest on the Olympic Peninsula in Washington State where I live, and it's one of the rainiest places, but it's beautiful because there's ancient trees and just like moss covered everything, and it's misty and it's wet, and life thrives there, right? So you might be in that dark period, but there might be an ability for you to catapult into a new beginning with that. With the Five of Pentacles is this card that is it's called it's connected to this period in a person's life called the Dark Night of the Soul. It's a period that's talked about in spiritual circles, and it's where we're at our absolute lowest. We are in the dark. We are in a deeply, deeply difficult, tricky, hard to understand situation in our life where it seems like nothing is going right. But oftentimes we have to go to those dark places in order to see fully who we are, and that those dark places can actually open up an ability to see the light, to actually understand the difference between what we want and what we don't want, to actually understand who we are on an intrinsic level, to discover how to survive and thrive within our own being no matter what is happening. And the Devil card can talk about it can talk about the things in life that keep us bound. It can talk about things like addictions. It can talk about things like you know, just like the things that keep us stuck, right? Like a lot of times something can be addictive to one person and not to another person. especially when we're talking about behavioral issues. If you're talking about, real talk, I'm kind of a recovering sex addict myself. I don't want to be too adult with this, but that's a part of my life story. And a part of that is like learning how to treat certain behaviors. I don't want to get to talking about sexuality here, but one thing that I learned with that, getting over that, is that that there is a sense that there is healthy sexuality and then there's unhealthy behaviors, and the difference is how you treat it. The difference is how you let it run your life, right? The devil talks about those behaviors that are running our lives. It's not that the behavior itself is the issue, it's that we let it keep us bound. We let it keep us controlled. We let ourselves abdicate our own personal sense of authority and personal responsibility to something else. And then we allow that thing, to be like the excuse, So then it's like, well, that's my addiction, and I have no control, and that's what it is. That's what it is. But ultimately, like, those are things that you're telling yourself. And I don't mean to, I don't want to talk light of addiction, because I know it is incredibly difficult. Um, but a lot of times those addictions they're there because we don't want to face certain things within us, right? We don't want to face certain challenges, certain understandings of ourselves, and they're things that we don't even know what they are, right? But we are so afraid of looking within that we will take whatever we can to escape, right? Addictions are escapism. They're all about, what can I bring into my life so that I don't have to look at anything, and I can just numb this pain. I can just forget where I am. I can just stop this, right? And I've been there. I've been there, and I've suffered from incredible depression in my life, where the kind of crippling depression where you just barely can get out of bed, the kind of depression where you're just like so down on yourself and on life, and you don't know up and down, you don't know anything, and you're just lost in that fog. I know what that feels like. um, and I know what it's like to get out of it too. I feel like now I'm at a point in my life where I'm largely out of that, and every now and then you get some things where you're feeling bad about yourself and you're feeling bad about life, but I'm nowhere where I used to be. And a lot of it was learning how to slow down is huge when you're in that kind of situation. Learning how to learning how to take things one step at a time, right? You can't If you're in those places, you can't get out of those tomorrow. You can't. There's no way to do that. And that doesn't mean you can't get out of them at all. It just means that it's going to take time. And so, when you're in this devil energy, when you're in the dark night of the soul period, um, it's important to take your time to really develop a sense of patience, to really, really, really develop a sense of patience, and to develop a sense of gratitude. Actually, gratitude, I practice gratitude, and that is one of the things that really legitimately, as much as it sounds like, woo woo, like whatever, honestly, real gratitude practice helps. There's some wonderful gratitude meditations on YouTube. You can find them. There's this one group called the Mindful Moment, I think is what they're called, the Mindful Moment or Mindful Minute, Mindful Moment, I think. Movement, the Mindful Movement. That's the name of their channel. Check them out. Really, really helpful stuff, because it's something that they say in their videos that like transformed my life is you cannot be grateful and sad at the same time. You can't. So the more you learn how to see, it's you're training your mind to look in a new perspective. When you're really, really, really low, your thoughts, your thought process, your entire inner ecosystem, your inner biome. Remember, I was talking about how I live close to the Pacific Northwest rainforest, and that's an entire ecosystem and biome that exists based on the rain. Our thoughts can be looked at in the same way. You know how they talk about the gut biome within our stomachs, where the foods that you eat can help support that healthy gut biome or not. Thinking of looking at your inner body physically as like a kind of ecosystem and environment. Your thoughts are an ecosystem as well. Your thoughts are a biome as well. And so when you start to look at your inner world that way, look at what you're feeding your inner world, you know? And when we're in those deep, dark depressions and in those spaces, you know, we might have really toxic, negative thoughts. And it's, it's hard to get out of those instantaneously. Some people do, right? Like you look at like an Eckhart Tolle or whatever, kind of a person who's like has an instant epiphany and gets out of it or whatever. Like that's possible, I guess, for humanity, but that's just unrealistic to expect that to happen for yourself. It's much more. It's definitely possible, way easier, I think, to just take a little bit at a time and start to see. There is a it's a practice called mindfulness that we can develop in life. If you want to Google that, it's so helpful. Um, Mindfulness is the practice of learning how to see your thoughts, right? Learning how to see your thoughts while they're happening. And it's important to remember it's hard to gain this perspective when it's not familiar to you. But the more that you practice it, the easier it is to start to see. But you are not your thoughts. Your thoughts are going in your mind, but you don't have to identify with those thoughts, right? If you have a negative thought about, you know, oh my God, I hate myself, or oh my God, I can't believe blah, 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 you know, and then you see those thoughts and you say to yourself, like, oh my God, I can't believe that I said that. And then you allow that to be a negative thought, you know what I mean? It's important to remember that sometimes thoughts just pop into your head. And in the more that you practice learning how to see it, the more you can start to say, okay, well, that's a thought that's in my head. That doesn't have to be me. I don't have to be that. And that's where this inner child work actually really can come in handy, is learning how to remember who you were as a child, right? That was helpful for me, because it's like when you're a child, you know, you don't, there's nothing, you're innocent, right? You have that innocence, right? You're not hating. I mean, you learn how to hate yourself. You can learn that in childhood. I did. Um, but but there's still this like wonder that's there in childhood. There's that unlimited possibility that's there in childhood, and you still have access to that, because that unlimited possibility is actually the base state of humanity. That's actually who we are as individuals deep down inside, is that's our base state. And so um, you know, when you're in those places, it's important to remember that that doesn't have to be who you are. That's not who you are not that. And it's not to say that you're not the one experiencing and having those thoughts, right? Like you, those thoughts are coming into your head and they're there, but you have the ability to start to look at those and to start feeding that inner environment healthy things, right? It's you can change the the thoughts that go into your head. You can change the social media that you're looking at. You know, really ask yourself, well, what is the media diet I'm having? Am I watching only serial killer videos? You know, nothing, no shame against and shade against serial killer movies and TV shows that can be incredibly entertaining. But if that's your whole life, like you're feeding yourself some gross stuff. You know, you gotta do like, it's like eating all ice cream, right? If you eat only ice cream all day, every day, you're gonna feel terrible. And you know, if you start eating a few vegetables every now and then, you'll start to realize, oh, now I'm feeling a little better, right? So our thoughts work the same way. It works the same way. Um, and I see that you have the ability to come out of that, and you may, you know, take this as it resonates. You might already be kind of coming out of that kind of a thing, because we have the Three of Wands here, which is talking about, you know, moving on to bigger and brighter things. It can talk about, you know, our ships coming in, and journeying off onto the sunset, seeing our ability to move forward, and imagining a brighter and better future for ourselves. So that's something that could help you as well, is starting to see like, okay, well, what do I actually want in my life? Let me come up with a plan. Let's talk about planning too. Let me come up with a plan for something that I actually want in my life, as opposed to all of these things that are just like, that are just bringing me down. And you know, maybe you need to change your physical environment as well. Let's talk about travel. These boots are about traveling. Maybe it's time for you to walk away from, you know, if you're living in a toxic situation with a bunch of roommates who are really not doing you well, or if you're in a bunch of friend groups with a ton of people who don't mean you well, or you know, any of that kind of thing. You know, ask your, what is the environment you've surrounded yourself in? It could be even, you know, Are you living in clutter? You know, it's so easy to do that. Trust me, as somebody who's has a tough time cleaning up sometimes. Um, Especially if you're in depressed states, it can be almost impossible to do that. But our inner and outer worlds reflect one another. So if you're living in that space of clutter, um, just the simple act of taking time to clean up, and just giving yourself that time and space if you can. I know it's hard to do that. Even just cleaning a few little tiny things, um, that might actually help bring you in a new direction, to just like start to see something good within you. And I use good and bad are they're tough terms because what's good to somebody is different to what's good to somebody else. But I guess I mean just like bringing in a sense of comfort into your life again. A sense of ease instead of just all the difficulty in your mind. Um, let's keep looking. And like I said, I've experienced all of that before, so I know what it's like, and it's not easy. But I will say, with actual dedicated work, I put in a lot of work on myself, and I decided to just make that my project. Like, okay, I want to get better. I am tired of feeling terrible. I want to feel better. And, it was a long journey back into myself, but, I dedicated at least 2 years of my life to that. And it works. It works. If you're willing to do that work, it's there. And I also recommend, I want you to know, like, I told it to the last pile too, but I'm not a licensed therapist. And so I don't have the ability to give you a clinical understanding of psychology. I'm not a psychologist. I'm just a tarot reader and somebody who has gone through my own personal experiences and want to share those with people. But I do recommend therapy. It is incredibly helpful. And I think for you guys in particular, you may want to look into finding somebody to talk to professionally. And if you're, if you feel like you're more spiritual inclined, or, like I was super into occult stuff back when I was in my most depressed phases. And so I felt like really wigged out about the idea of talking to a therapist because I thought they might think I was crazy, but honestly, therapists are just there to help you. They're not going to think that you're crazy, and you can find the right ones who are open to more mystical lines of thinking. They exist. There are therapists out there who are also deeply spiritual. Look up the holistic psychologist here on YouTube. She's incredible. She is a clinical psychologist, but she's also a very spiritual person, and she has a lot of great insight. So, I just, as an aside, I'm just suggesting looking into talking to somebody. There's also, there's this, if you're strapped for money and you don't really have the ability to afford a therapist. I've been there too. I know what that's like. There's a group called Open Path. You can look that up, at least here in the United States, that offers very, very affordable therapy in most areas of the country. So look them up too. Anyway, back to the reading. Don't mean to just talk about all that, but just there's some resources out there for you. It's important to remember. If you're feeling lost, if you're feeling like you're in hard times, reach out. There is somebody there to help you. There's somebody there who wants to help you. And so, you have access to that. Next up, we have the Three of Wands again. Okay, so yeah, you are definitely traveling, moving, ready to move on. I feel like you're ready to move out of this. And so, take that. Take that and use this as your ability to move forward. The devil can also talk about liberation. It can talk about what bounds us, but then it can also talk about freeing yourself from that. So I think you're in a period where you're ready to free yourself from all of this grossness and really travel into something new. And I would seriously look into what is your physical environment, and do I need to move? Do I need to walk away? Do I even need to just go on a vacation? Can I take a camping trip in the woods for a weekend? Can I go, depending on where you live, right? Can I take a trip away for a little bit and see if that will help me? Your next card is the Seven of Pentacles. So that talks about putting in a lot of hard work, right? So I think that you are ready to work hard on this. And like I was saying before, if you're willing to do the work, if you're willing to put in the time and the energy and the effort into this, you can get better. You can get better, and you can thrive, and you deserve to thrive. It's like you deserve not only to be happy, but you deserve to thrive in this lifetime, and you have the power within you to thrive in this lifetime. And so it's important to remember to learn how to tell yourself that I deserve to thrive in my life. My life should be me thriving. And what do I need to do to make that happen? Because you have the ability to make that happen, pile number 4. And it's just up to you to take those steps and take that action, to look into if you need to get help, go get help. It's okay. There's nothing wrong with you for asking for help from somebody, even if it's just from friends, And if your friends aren't there to help you, then maybe look at who those friends are. And maybe it's time to find different friend groups too. Who are you surrounding yourself with? What are you surrounding yourself with? And what are you telling to yourself? The inner and outer worlds, like I said, they do reflect one another. Next up, we have 3 cards from the Wild Unknown Tarot. We have the High Priestess. Okay, so developing an intuition, learning how to go within. Sometimes these Dark Night of the Soul periods can help spurn these psychic awakenings. So maybe you have a psychic awakening coming where you're going to learn how to trust your intuition instead of denying your intuition. Learning how to see what you really want on the inside, learning how to see the signs from the universe itself and flowing with that, learning how to find the flow of the universe, find the flow of life, find the ability to move and walk with this earth instead of putting yourself down or anything like that, instead of acting against life, learning how to flow with life. We've got the 5 of Pentacles again. Okay, so two doubles in this deck. It's planning for the future and traveling, but also that Dark Night of the Soul. So I do feel like you are in a difficult period right now, and that's okay. I want you to know that those difficult periods happen in life, and when you develop these gratitude practices, you will start to see, how can I look at the situation that I'm in as an ability to learn and grow? How can I take this difficult, dark moment and fuel it for my growth? How can I transform from this? How can I use this to move forward? How can I use this to grow as a human being? And it's hard to get to the place where you can even ask yourself those questions. Trust me. Like I said, I know what that's like. It can just feel like, especially if you're feeling nihilistic at all, if you're in those dark, awful headspaces, it's just like, it's the last thing you want to hear. Like, oh, I should be grateful that my life sucks and everything's tearing apart. Like, what? I know what that feels like. But honestly, there's something in your life to be grateful for. I mean it. If you are alive and you are breathing on this planet, there is something to be grateful for. Do you have a house over your head? You have access to the internet if you're watching this video, so that's something huge. That's something gigantic. That is worth celebrating and not putting yourself down because there's other people who are below you. We don't have to have a pity contest in life. We can just we can learn how to be grateful for what we have and learn how to share with ourselves and with the world in a way that's going to help, because being in a constant state of pity, also, or oh my God, I can't believe how terrible things are, or oh my God, I can't believe I have access to this thing and this other person doesn't, and that makes me such a shitty person, and blah, 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 blah. That's not helping anybody, right? If you take on that perspective, that's not helping the people who are more disadvantaged of you, by you just putting yourself down. How the heck is that going to help somebody? It's not. What's going to help somebody is, being in your own personal power and being totally empowered and learning how to share that power with the world. That's what's going to help this planet. That's what's going to help other people. That's what's going to help yourself. And you can't help anybody else until you learn how to help yourself, right? There's that airplane placard, right? That's the most important philosophy of life, I think, that I had to learn the hard way many, many, many times, is you have to put on your own oxygen mask before you put on somebody else's, because you can't help that other person if you pass out. You can't. You can't, So yeah, so that's just something important to remember. Your final tarot card is the Mother of Swords. So really, I do feel like there is situations in your life that are ready to leave. Really ask yourself, is this person I'm hanging out with all the time, are they nice? Are they kind? Do they even like me? If I were to be totally and completely my authentic self around this person, would they want anything to do with me? And if the answer is no, I mean, like I said, I didn't say that in this reading, but I do firmly believe this. These readings are just suggestions. I am not telling you how to live. I'm just telling you my personal experience and some advice that I have learned from that. through these cards. So take this with a grain of salt. If you don't want to do this, don't listen to me. That's fine. But if you have people like I was just describing in your life, I would seriously consider you ask why. Why do I have these people in my life? And that's another thing that I'm only telling you from personal experience. Um, I had to completely leave an entire friend group, an entire neighborhood. There's an entire neighborhood of this city that I just don't really want to go to anymore because there's a lot of people I don't want to run into. Um, and it's kind of a shame that I feel that way, but also I feel much better for having left those communities because there's just a lot of really negative people, a lot of really terrible people, a lot of people who didn't like me, a lot of people who, who weren't looking out for me and my own personal best interests, who didn't really care about me, who just cared about, I was just obsessed with people who, I don't know, it's just, you want to be with the cool kids doing the cool thing and blah, 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 like whatever. But like, gosh, it's just a lot of empty, angry people that I was hanging out with. And I had to ask myself, why do I want to be with these empty, angry people? And why do I want to be an empty, angry person? That's what I had to ask myself ultimately. Why do I want to be an empty, angry person? Seriously. I had to legitimately ask myself that question because like that wasn't who I was when I was a kid. That's not who I used to be. That wasn't the magical wonderment of life that I used to understand. Even as a teenager, when I felt weird and awkward and ostracized from my community in high school, I still was myself in that. And I loved a lot of things that when I entered into my 20s, for some reason, I went through that like high school clique period, like God knows why, but I did. And I had to ask myself, why am I abandoning the parts of myself that are the most authentic, that are the most important to me feeling good about myself and about the world? Why am I casting those parts of myself off for the approval of people who don't care about me, right? Why? And so I had to learn the hard way that, and I was just thinking about this today, that it was like, you know, if you don't accept yourself and you look for other people for acceptance, it, no matter how many people you find who will accept you, if you don't accept yourself first, you will not feel accepted in life. You won't. And you will always feel empty if you're looking for um, if you're looking for approval outside of yourself without giving yourself that approval. No amount of approval outside of yourself will ever be enough. And you will be looking for approval from people who don't approve of you too, right? Because you don't approve of you. And like I was saying, our inner and outer worlds reflect one another. So, um, you know, you'll just be attracting people who don't like you if you don't like yourself, right? Um, I know that's tough, and I don't mean to trigger you, and I don't mean to be talking so tough, but those are really important lessons that I had to learn when I was at my lowest in life. I had to learn how to see that that's how I was seeing myself, that I was hating myself, that I was telling myself that all of the beautiful, wonderful parts of me were not good enough, were not acceptable, and I had to put on a persona, this fake version of myself that other people would like, and that I was a different person with every person I was with, and none of those were me fully, and I felt like I had to say what other people wanted, something called people pleasing. I was a people pleaser, and it was really not helping me. It was bringing me down, and that's a part of why I felt so terrible, because I wasn't really real with anybody. And ooh, yeah, geez. So, that was just my version of the Dark Night of the Soul period, but I started to see those things, and it took a long time to learn how to untangle everything that was in my mind. Our minds can be this tangled web of mesh, of guach when we're in those dark periods, and that's okay. It's okay to be there. So just be patient with yourself. Learn how to slow down. Learn how to breathe. And yeah, you might want to see a therapist because they can help you untangle those things. And it can be really, really, really helpful. So the last two cards come from the Shamanic Healing Oracle. I just gave one to most of these, but I gave two to you, and I think you could use two. So the first one is It's All Good. It's all good, pile number 4. So that's a huge thing to remember. Even now, even in these most difficult situations, when you learn in the state that you're in now, if you learn from this how to slow down, how to be calm, how to learn how to see that it's all good even now, if you can learn that now, you will take that skill with you for the rest of your life. And no matter what this planet throws at you, no matter what life throws at you, you will be able to thrive through that because you are resilient, pile number 4. So learn how to tap into your own resilience. Learn how to see that even now, even in this dark moment, even when things seem so terrible, even when things are awful, it's still okay. It's all good. So honestly, look into gratitude practices, gratitude meditation, or gratitude affirmations. Um, Learn how to see the things in life that are there for you to be grateful for, that are beautiful, that want to be seen. They're there in your life, and practicing looking at those things every day will help make you feel better. Will help bring you into an ability to move forward in your life in a way that's you thriving, because you deserve to thrive in this life. But you have to build that thriving for yourself. And you have to put in the work for it. But if you're willing to put in that work, you will see results. It's true, you will. And if you need help in order to even know where to begin, I seriously consider finding a therapist, because man, they can be so helpful. I've seen one many, many times in my life. I'm actually pretty much considering going back to a therapist again, because I've been having a little bit of difficult things in my life lately. Like I said, these things bubble up every now and then. They're going to keep doing that for you, but the more that you work on yourself and the more that you put in the work, the more that you're willing to be present with yourself through the difficult periods, instead of like with that devil card, just trying to numb yourself and not look at it. If you're willing to look at it every time it comes up, then it will come up less, because you will work through it. And then you will start to free yourself and you will be free. Um, Freedom is possible. Trust me. And then the final one is sexual energy. Interesting that I talked about I talked about sex addiction at the beginning of this reading, because yeah, that's funny. But this doesn't have to be about sex. It talks about that creative force that's within us. So the more that you learn how to work through some of these things, the more you'll have access to that creative force of the world. The more that you'll be able to plan and build a future, maybe come up with some creative projects to follow. You'll be able to tap into that energy and able to do things. You'll be able to get out of bed in the morning. You'll be able to make things happen instead of not, because you're willing to take the look at all the things that need to be worked through. So it might take some time pausing all the things you really want to do, to just focus on you for a while. But trust me, by doing that, you will grow so much, and you will be able to really, really, really connect and to commit to the things that you really want to bring into this world. So that is how you can connect to what was this reading? How can I realize my fullest potential? That is how you can help realize your fullest potential, is by allowing yourself to move through all the things that need to be moved through, to see and face all of the challenges that come up in your life, no matter what. Be willing to take a look at those things. Be willing to work through those things, because those things are blocking you from being able to connect to that potential. But that potential wants to come into your life. The things that you dream of in life are dreaming of you. The things that you want from life want you back. There's a reason you want those things. The things you dreamed of as a child that you wanted, those things want you too. There's a reason why you had those dreams. So in order to really connect to that, though, you have to heal yourself from the difficult things that are still present within you. And that's okay. We all have to go through this journey. The more that you're willing to go through that journey, the easier it's going to get, The more steps you start taking in that direction, the more momentum you'll build, and trust me, the easier it will get. So, I am rooting for you 100%, pile number four. I am right here with you. Just because I'm here on YouTube and talking about this stuff doesn't mean that I haven't gone through any of this. And, I do feel like I'm further along from my darkest moments now. But like I said, even now, I still have difficult moments and they still come up into my life, and it's still a tricky situation. It still is every now and then. So just remember that. Remember that. Not every, that you might look at somebody and think that they're perfect, especially with the internet. It's so easy to think that, somebody's perfect life is out there, but they're only showing you the things they want to show you. They're not showing you their lowest moments, most likely. And so it's important to keep that in mind as you move through this. So, anyway, pile number four, that's my reading for you. I hope that it resonates. Thank you so much, so much for tuning in. If you would like a private reading with me to get more in depth about any of this stuff, please feel free to reach out. I have the readings available on my website at www.junodrum.com. And I also I have an Instagram where I do little daily, or I'm going to try to do more daily little one-off card readings. So you can check that out at Junodrum Tarot. And anyway, thank you so much, pile number four, for tuning in. I really appreciate you being here. If you like this too and you haven't subscribed already, please subscribe. It really does help the channel. So anyway, catch you later. See ya.